Good morning. Welcome to day 4 of our no complaining challenge. Day 4 of number 30. Our goal is to go 30 days without complaining. And it's not about just not complaining, but it's about awareness. It's about seeing those areas where we complain, noticing the subconscious desire or need to just complain. And today, we're going to go deeper. Shout out to Jonathan. I need you to get your scuba gears because we're going deep today. So if you're listening to this, you might want to grab a pen. You might want to take notes, and you might want to listen to it a couple of times, because today I want to present to you a different perspective on complaining. And what if the reason that you keep complaining is not because something is wrong or because life is bad or because things aren't working your way? But what if the reason was something deeper than that you didn't even know about? What if the reason was because your nervous system has practiced complaining so many times that now it's become a part of you? Now it becomes normal. Now it feels like this is just who we are. It's become a part of your identity. You've now labeled yourself subconsciously. You don't even realize it, okay, as a complainer. And I'm not talking about what you verbally express. It could be something minute, as simple as complaining about your spouse leaving the toilet seat up, or complaining about the weather, or complaining about the politics. There's so many different areas that these things subtly show up. And we used to think, well, after today's message, you probably used to think that complaining was always about something being wrong. Well, guess what? The whole world is wrong. Everything is wrong. There's a deeper truth that we miss. Something happens, an event, a circumstance, and your mind, my mind, our minds automatically will go to a complaint, because that's the emotional pathway, the emotional road that feels the most comfortable. Excuse me. It's the emotional road that we know best. Think about it. Somebody gets inconvenienced, somebody cuts you off in traffic, somebody says something, a bill becomes due, plans change, your child interrupts you while you're trying to record a message, a customer frustrates you, and before you even think about it, your body has changed. Your body wants to respond. Your body already knows what it's going to do. Frustration, complaint, validation. It's going to reach for some type of temporary relief. And it's not just a thought pattern. Today, I want to expose to you the emotional habit of complaining. So before we get into that, let's talk about what is an emotional habit. And this is something that I just discovered. So I want to share it with you. Because we know about our physical habits. We know about the habit of smoking, the habit of, going to the gym. We know about those habits. But an emotional habit is something that happens when our bodies become trained. Our brain is training us. Our mind is training us to return to a familiar emotional state. Okay? It's when, by default, we want to feel a certain way, even when that emotional state is not serving to us, okay? It's not something that we just think about. It's something that we've rehearsed over time. I'll give you an example. Some people, they wake up and on Sunday, only on Sunday, they wake up and they automatically feel stress. And they wonder why. And maybe they were working a job that they hated for years. And so Monday morning, they had rehearsed it for so long that every Monday morning, irrespective of it's a holiday or whatever it is, they just feel stress. Nothing has happened. Nobody's called. No emergency. But their body has entered into an emotional state of pressure because the pressure has become familiar. Some people are used to disappointment. So even when things are going well, they start looking for what might go wrong. Some people are used to conflict, fighting. And so even when there's peace, that peace feels uncomfortable. So they're constantly scanning the environment for threats because they're uncomfortable. And some people are used to complaining. So silence feels strange. Perfection in their environment feels strange. So complaining now in the mind has become dangerous. Because after a while, you're not complaining because something is wrong. You're complaining because your body is looking for a familiar emotional place to be. It's looking for that comfort zone. And complaining has become that. I know it's hard for some of you to believe. Like, this isn't making any sense. So let's talk about how and why these emotional habits are formed. And as I said before, it's through repetition. Once you repeat a thought, you repeat a feeling, you repeat a reaction. Let's call it rehearsal. You rehearse, because repetition after some time it's no different than rehearsal. So you're rehearsing these thoughts. Your brain is strengthening that pathway. So neural pathways in the brain, they're like trails, okay, or highways in the brain. So think about when you have a trail, okay, there's the brain where it's just a forest, and there's A to B. And the more often you travel that trail, now it becomes easier for you to travel again. So the dirt path now becomes a paved road. And eventually the paved road, after so much usage, is going to become easier to travel. So your brain is not asking, is this the best road? It just simply takes the easiest road it knows. The brain is wired to take the shortest, easiest path. Open, short path to comfort. Okay? So let's look at how this works when it comes to complaining. Something happens, you feel discomfort, your mind reaches for a complaint, you say it out loud, then somebody agrees with you, you feel heard, you feel justified, and then you feel that sense of relief. That sense of relief is the reward, and that triggers the dopamine. And now the brain says, this worked. Let's do this again. And that's how the emotional habit is formed. Because at some point, the complaining got a reward. And your brain is constantly searching for that reward. Not because it healed you, not because it made you a better person, but because it gave you temporary relief. Here's another example. You walk into the room, nothing is wrong, the room is fine, but now your brain is scanning. Is it too cold? Is it too hot? Is the chair uncomfortable? Why is this person dressed like this? Why are they talking loud? Why is the light like that? Why is this taking so long? Nothing is wrong, but the mind is searching for something to complain about. Why? Why is this happening? Because your brain is not looking for truth. Sometimes it's just looking for that emotional reward. And you ask, well, why is the brain doing like this? Why are we wired like this? Because the brain has been designed for efficiency. It's not wanting to use extra energy. So under pressure, under tiredness, under stress, or low awareness, it's going to reach for the most practiced pathway. When it walks into a room, it's going to choose the optimal path, not the best path. It chooses the most familiar path. And if we practice whatever we practice over time, it becomes our default. So if we're practicing that we have to find something, it's going to constantly look. So if complaining has been practiced for years, the brain is going to reach for a complaint automatically. And because the human brain has a negativity bias, it's going to naturally scan for what is wrong before it notices what is right. And how do we know we have a negativity bias? Because that's how we've been trained over centuries. The negativity bias says, I need to protect my environment. That's what we required for survival in the caveman era. Even today, most people are constantly looking for threats. And so that negativity bias, it's what helps humans survive danger, constantly looking for threats. And so when that system is not renewed, it turns into a life of constant dissatisfaction. You can be blessed and still have complaints. You can have all your provisions met and still be looking for what's not there. You can be walking through answered prayers, living in answered prayer, and still focusing on what's missing. And we look at this with the Israelites. God delivered them from the Egyptians, from Pharaoh, parted the Red Sea, gave them manna, guided them, and still they complained. God was there. He wasn't absent. But their emotional habits still ruled them. They didn't let God rule them. They let their emotional habits. Their bodies were free, but their minds were still enslaved. And that's one of the reasons why we're commanded, we're advised, it's suggested that do not conform to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by renewing your mind. Renewing your mind needs to be a daily, hourly, weekly, monthly. It needs to be a periodic thing that we engage in. And this transformation is not just about changing your behavior. It's renewing. It's emotional renewal. It's learning a new pathway. Because in honesty, we're never in a neutral state without practicing. This is very important. We're never neutral. We're always seeking something. Most of us think we're neutral until something happens. If you were truly neutral, you would have no response to anything. There's times when we can be, but we're not always neutral. Some of us carry an emotional default, a default mood, a default expectation, a default fear, a default complaint. Some of us default to anxiety, to worry, to guilt, to anger, to criticism. And some of us default to gratitude. I know some people that no matter what happens, they just go into gratitude. Some of us default to faith. I wonder what God's going to do. I trust God. What is your default emotional state? Where do you live emotionally on a default basis? When life squeezes you, you're going to return to whatever you've practiced. You're going to return to your home, your default emotional state. In Luke, Jesus says, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So your complaining is not just coming from your mouth. It's revealing what's been stored inside of you. And yes, complaining always feels productive. It always feels like something is being transformed or changed, but most times it's not. Complaining actually, sometimes it tricks you. It tricks the mind. It feels like you're doing something. It feels like you've identified a problem. It feels like you're being honest. It feels like you're being realistic. But a lot of times complaining has nothing to do with problem solving. It's just emotional recycling. You're not fixing the issue. All you're doing is rehearsing the pain. There's no solution. You're just strengthening the pathway. Scripturally, we're told to do everything without grumbling, without arguing, without complaining. Not because we want to fake it. Not because God tells us to be toxically positive, but because grumbling is a corruption to our spirit. It weakens our faith. It doesn't strengthen it. It trains us to see something that's not beneficial to us. It trains us to see lack. It trains us to see scarcity before provision. And so I guess the next question you're asking is, well, how can I break this habit, this emotional habit? And we don't break these emotional habits by pretending. We break them the same way we do the physical habits. How do you break the habit of biting your nails? You replace it with a better habit. You don't pretend that your nails don't exist. And the first thing is to become aware. And we've done that. We've become aware. And by now, by day 4, most of you have become aware of your emotional habits. Most of you have become aware of the areas that you tend to complain. You can catch the complaint before it even leaves your mouth. That's step 1. The next step is to ask, what am I feeling right now? am I really upset about this, or is my body just reaching for a familiar emotion? Step 2 is to interrupt it. Pause, breathe. Do not feed that pathway. Do not feed the urge, because the urge is going to be there. But you do not have to obey it. You do not have to complain when you feel the urge to complain. Ask yourself, is this solving a problem? And if it is there any other way that I can communicate this without it being a complaint? And if you don't understand the difference between a complaint and communication, a complaint and constructive criticism is exactly what it says. It leads to something constructive. A complaint can sometimes tear people down. And sometimes it's the complaint and the constructive criticism are the same exact words on paper, but the delivery is different. The complaint can be, I don't like the way you did this. Constructive criticism could be, hey, do you think if you did this way, here's the result that we could get, and here's how you could be a better person. So the Bible says that we should take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. So you can't take a thought captive if you don't notice it. And then step 3 is to replace it. You replace that thought, you augment it or replace it with a better thought. You can't just remove the complaint. You have to replace it with a higher pathway. We talked about gratitude yesterday. Instead of criticism, choose curiosity. Instead of criticizing somebody, I wonder why they did this. And you can ask them. Instead of venting, I don't like the way I'm being treated, choose responsibility. I'm being treated this way. I wonder if there's anything that I can do to shift that. Instead of, why is this happening to me? What is this trying to teach me? Nothing is working. Somebody said that in the group yesterday. Well, God, show me the next faithful step. And the one that I love the most, I've noticed that in my life, sometimes I'm just not seeing things from the perspective that God is seeing things. When you look at things from a different perspective, it opens a pathway to understanding. And a lot of times misunderstanding, miscommunication, complaining is just seeing things from a different perspective than God sees things. There's so much wisdom in this book. There's another one that says, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, think on those things. A simple question like, God, show me my next step. Show me my next thought. What should it be? This is not spiritual advice. This is training. This is emotional rewiring, renewing your mind. This is a spiritual battle, guys. This is the spiritual battle. There's no devil out there in a purple suit or whatever suit they say he wears that's omnipotent and omnipresent like God fighting you. Guess what? The battle is in your head. The battle is in your mind. Complaining is part of the battle. Complaining is not always about the situation. Sometimes it's about authority. Who has authority over your inner world? Who has authority over your emotions, your fears, your past? Is it those circumstances? Is it God? Because every time you complain, every time you voice some type of negativity without a solution, you're giving your emotional state over to that thing that you're complaining about. But when you pause, take a step back, pray about it, and choose your response, you're reclaiming your authority over that thing. We're advised to guard our hearts. Everything flows from it. And guarding your hearts means you don't let every frustration control you. And anything that controls you is your master. You're now controlled. Every frustration can't control you. Every inconvenience can't control you. Those are not part of your identity. Every delay can't be a distraction. Every feeling can't become the truth. So today, it's not about just watching our words. Watch the urge before the words. Watch the urge to want to complain. Watch when you feel the desire to complain. Take a step back, pause, and ask, what emotional reward am I looking for right now? Do I want validation? Do I want sympathy? Do I want control? Do I want attention? Do I want to feel right? Do I want to feel justified? Do I want somebody to agree with me about my frustration? Is it ego? And then ask, is this complaint leading me to freedom? Where is this complaint leading me to? Or is it keeping me in the same emotional loop? Is it leading me to a godly state? Because today our goal is awareness, but awareness of the urge. The moment you want to complain, the thought starts building up. A guy said to me once, Dr. Charles Stanley, you can let the birds fly above your head. They do that to everybody. But the moment you allow them to build a nest, you're responsible. And so the urge to complain is going to come, but we have to observe it. Because once you can observe it, now you can see the pathway, and then you can choose a new one. So today, I hope you understand that complaining is not just a bad habit. It can and does become an emotional addiction. An emotional addiction to dissatisfaction, to being right. But the good news is this. Any addiction can be reversed. If the pathway was learned, it can be unlearned. If the mind was trained to be a complaining mind, it can be renewed through gratitude. If the body learned anxiety, it can learn peace. If the mouth learned complaining, grumbling, negativity, it can learn praise. And David spoke. He commanded his soul. He said, bless the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all his benefits. Remember the benefits that come with knowing God. Remember the benefits that come with trusting God. And when you know that, the complaining loses its power. And I'm not talking about the big stuff. This is something that can be as subtle as complaining about the color of the shoelaces. Okay? Sometimes you got to command your soul, not because life is perfect, but because your soul has practiced the wrong song for too long. It's practiced the wrong dance. So day 4 is about changing that song. From complaint to awareness to consciousness. From reaction to reclaiming the authority. From grumbling to gratitude. Thank you. From old pathways to a renewed mind. I hope this message has helped you in this day 4. May God be with you. May God show you, give you the wisdom to identify areas in your life where you're not grateful and where there's an opportunity to be grateful, but instead you're expressing complaints. Every complaint can be replaced with gratitude. And if there's no gratitude, maybe there's a solution, and maybe there's no need to complain. Let's live day 4, no complaining. Be blessed.